1 lump or 2, Monsieur Rimbaud. What? This was his default answer to any question. Kid's answer. He stared at her, at the air, at the wall just to her left. Lumps, she prompted. Sugar. 4. Never heard of such a thing. Lumps of sugar? 4? Are you a bee, monsieur? He looked down. 4 yet. Plump, plump, plump. Then with a clawed tongue, she picked up a 4th, eyed him dubiously, then decorously let it fall. Ploop. But where do you get your ideas? Inquired Mathilde, trying to draw him out. He sighed, rolled his eyes, hung his head. He wasn't saying madam, not even to the old one, let alone to her. Another kid, pregnant, he thought, with her sloshing bosoms leaking milk. Ideas? She said again. A poet's girl, he thought, with that black spider between her legs. Ugh. Ideas, he scowled. I have no ideas. No ideas, she replied, giving him, she thought, a lovely opening to expound upon his ruminative process, his dreams. What then do you have, Monsieur Rimbaud? Kittens. Kittens? She asked, at first thinking, owing to his unfortunate country accent, that she had somehow misheard him. When spastic, unable to stand it, he bolted up, knocked over his cup, eggshell thin, then washed in a kind of wild dreams that shattered like an orgasm on the floor. Mon Dieu! Exclaimed Madame Motet. She looked at him in horror. That was my mother's finest porcelain. See him now, hunkered and picked on, wrongly accused when it was the porcelain's fault, but really Madame Motet's fault for giving him porcelain in the first place. Mother, said the resourceful Mathilde quietly as the maids converged, Mother, I think it is time to show Monsieur Rimbaud to his room. And just then, he thought to himself, this is going to be fun. So this final reading takes place in 1891, 20 years later. At this point, he's 37. It's just months before his death from a cancerous knee. At this point, he's living in the Ethiopian desert, or Abyssinia is what it was known then, in an old walled trading town called Harar. Here he is a merchant trader, and disturbingly, an arms merchant, supplying with scarcely a second thought a murderous, vengeful king, King Menelik. As need worsens, Rimbaud has to organize his own evacuation by caravan, horses, camels, a dozen hired killers to protect him, and 4 teams of men to carry him on a litter across the desert. But then as they were leaving Harar, an unfortunate and very religious man named MacDonald, recently fired by Rimbaud's boss, begs to join the caravan. Him and his very proper wife, Mrs. MacDonald, and their 2 children. So, against his better judgment, Rimbaud consents. Things do not go well. In skirmishes with the violent and relentless tribesmen, 2 of his gunmen are killed. Then the day before this, Rimbaud and his guests stumble over a massacre site, a terrible scene, fueled almost certainly by the arms that Rimbaud has smuggled into the country. Here we pick up the day following this gruesome discovery, on a day when Rimbaud's medical condition is fast slipping and his English guests are still in shock. This final chapter, or this final reading I should say, is called Why. They saw buzzards flying, shiny wings tilting in the strong desert currents. They saw a walking stone, a giant tortoise, toad in a shell, yellow eyes. Grinning, the boy straddled him, giddy up, then was told, come along. They saw dik-diks, rabbit-sized antelopes with long stick-like legs, darling creatures, duly shot for supper. They saw on a hill in a rare large tree with horizontal vegetation what looked like 2 ragged black sacks, 2 witches perhaps. No, shifters, their supine guide explained, highwaymen, examples hung by the neck until they fell like rotten apples. They saw too the tribesmen, the skinny men, their adversaries, the watching men, unafraid on the low hills, easy shots against the sky, daring the Frangies, the foreigners, men hard as fire sticks carrying long, gut-stirring spears, spears that wobbled ever so slightly as the men moved. Later they saw the night, the undersea, the gloom, when all changed and advantage shifted. Look, human. Look as an animal looks into the night when he wins the predator. Open wide your mouth and nostrils. Let the darkness fill your throat like water. See even taste the oyster-like taste of darkness, salty and brined with fear. Listen, really listen. Lions letting out roars, hyenas yipping, obstreperous frogs both deep and shrill, shadows weaving shadows in moonlit shoals. Admit finally your utter irrelevance and superfluousness, for here you are bait. Feed the fire, stare at the flames, check and recheck your guns. Hope. But for all of Rimbaud's skill in evading his own mind, there was no evading Mrs. MacDonald's mind or her odd pull over him. But just what was that pull exactly? Even in the space of many accelerated days in the desert, their relationship, such as it was difficult to characterize. Husband and wife, mother and son, caretaker and patient, conscience and amnesia. Sprawled against the chest, the double-barrel shotgun across his lap, Rimbaud closely monitored Mrs. MacDonald, even as she stoutly ignored him, chin drawn into her neck with disgust. Gone was the prim hair. Crusted in dust, it was now tied like so many sticks in a length of raw cotton. Then he must have dozed, for suddenly here she was before him, his mother. Above him, there it was, the mouth of darkness, his mother, in her long skirt with two rough boots peeping out. He bolted up. Easy, she said. It's only I. It was, of course, Mrs. MacDonald. Returned with the children from their ablutions at the river, she was now as he first remembered her, and this made him extraordinarily happy to see her again in a fresh white shirt, her last, and her hair composed as before, drawn up smartly with the hatpin and primly English straw hat. Appraising his clearly deteriorating condition, she regarded him. Look at you, Cook Red. Will you never wear your hat? Picking up the hat, she placed it on his head, pushed it down, and adjusted it as if for a child. Enough, he said. Drink. I did. More. I'm fine. Drink. He drank. He knew it was coming. The interrogation, the accusation, something. But then the girl, whatever her name was crying, and once more in a small wind, the wind such as a departing woman makes, she left him rather upset on his back, tripled, put back into boy purgatory. Several hours later, when he reawakened, he saw a blood-red sky. Groggy, he sat up, then saw before him 7 pairs of sandals neatly lined up in the sand. 14 sandals, and before them, the 14 bare feet of 7 Muslim gunmen. Mud-red men in the red sun. Prostrate men, rising suddenly, then bowing east toward the jagged red mountains, smoldering in the distance like enormous scaly crocodiles. Tides of darkness, cloud tails, the first sharp stars. Abruptly, again, the 7 men rose and flattened themselves, and rose again, their hands open like cups. It was a scene he had witnessed 1,000 times, but now it bored him. He had no faith or tribe, truly kafir, an unbeliever, and nothing, wandering in a world of darkness and whirlwinds. Ordinary pain, physical pain, this was to be expected now, but here was a pain he had never let himself feel before. The pain of regret. Never when he had feet. Not when he could leave, change the scene, slip the noose, the curse of being him, losing himself in the next day or the next town. But what now with his leg crushed in the jaws of this trap? Who was he? What was he? He thought to himself, Lord God, Allah, wind in the sky, tell me what to do. Just tell me, make me yours. Tell me what to do. Why don't you give me that now? It was Mrs. MacDonald reaching for the shotgun. Surrender the gun. Come now, dearie. We're out of imminent danger. Let it go. No, he held it fast. Ah, she said blithely, are we going to be like that? She took a rag and a small bowl of water, warm, greasy water from the fatty goat skins. Bad boy, dirty boy. Washing in the rag was rough, and she was rough. Water dribbled down his neck and rather embarrassingly down his trousers, as if he had wet himself. Embarrassed, afraid the men under his command might see. Enough, he said, you're getting me wet. She plopped the rag in the bowl and took a steaming cup from one of the bearers. Sweet tea was just stripped camel's milk, mother's milk, buttery thick. Drink. So he drank. drained it, then had another cup, delicious. Again, Mrs. MacDonald called the men, who now rather miraculously more or less did as she said, or motioned, in a voice that was clipped and punctiliously polite. A small candle lantern was brought and lit. It was now just the two of them, two faces in a yellowy globe of light. "So why," she asked brightly, now that the tea had revived him, "really now, you must tell me, why ever did you write poems, Mr. Rambeau, a man such as yourself?" He stared at her in disbelief. "Poems, Mr. Rambeau," she said undeterred. Now, don't be coy, monsieur. Surely you can tell me, purely entre nous, between us." This appealed to his vanity that they should be somehow intimates connected. And to his very enormous relief, Ambrose, the massacre site, was not the subject of inquiry. Mrs. MacDonald's mode was one of challenge, true, but it was also seductive, blackly jocular, almost cynical, thereby raising the conversation in one balletic leap to another plane, metaphorical, symbolical, fantastical. Indeed, in its horror, it was almost abstract. Mrs. MacDonald simply had never met such a person, a capitalist, an arguable murderer, and a cynic. Why, at this rate, perhaps even a secret slave trader, all in a poet's body. Indeed, she was quite rapt with curiosity, quite as if she were asking a lion why he ate meat. "Come now, just tell me," she coaxed, "just me. Why on earth did you ever write poems, and then just stop as you did? Honestly, monsieur, how could you do that, and now this?" Thank you.
I love you guys.